yeah.
I'm going live. You're chatting away, so I'm just going to have to go live. Anyway, hello everybody. Hello there, Josh. Hello there, Bruce to the shelter. Yes. Oh, and let's put me over here so I get covered by the chat because that seems the right thing to do to me. Well, to the shelter. Shit, let's start there. Most of the US Air Force appears to be going to Europe on holiday at the moment.
Didn't he want to get out of Europe? Didn't he want to leave Europe?
No, he's arrived. He's arrived. I mean, that's it's quite a thing, isn't it? I don't know. You put it in the comment, Bruce. So you know you in your handle. So come on, what's you thinking all this? Oh, hang on. Let's put me back down there again.
I've got no idea, mate. I've got no idea.
You're just going to your shelf. So I can't move again.
There are billions of dollars going up in smoke every day. Really?
Well, the only good news is that it means that the Iranians can no longer supply Russia to hit Ukraine with certain drones. You know, it will stem that supply, which right now Ukraine needs that supply stemming. So inadvertently, Trump is doing some good to Ukraine, which shock and horror.
Yes, but it's putting oil prices up, and that's doing Russia more good.
I don't understand why oil prices are jumping up. It's quite weird if you look at the oil market because there is a glut. Okay, so there is a glut. Trump said drill, pump oil, which was fantastic because that meant prices started to come down again. Saudi Arabia turned around and went, we're not going to stop pumping. We're going because OPEC tries to control the oil price.
Hang on. When he was talking about pumping, was he talking about oil?
Yeah.
Right. Now then.
That's for sure.
So the reality is Saudi hasn't stopped pumping. Saudi's pumping like anything anyway. America's pumping. Taking out the Iranian oil, they'll cover that loss quite nicely. I don't get why, everything's so nervous.
They're worried about the Straits of Hormuz, whatever it is, where all the oil tankers go. It's 20% of the world's oil traffic goes through there. So if they decide to get snotty there or it gets closed down, that's when the pain starts.
Just so the viewers don't get confused, you're not watching the new episode of The Economist. You are watching Roman Sunday.
So,
no. This is again a go at Simon. Simon called us drone nerds. So this is where we have to go down this way. We can't. I blame Simon. Hello there, MTV. Hello everybody. I was Summer Dragon.
Did you see that? Did you see that story where they were grizzling about a man of drones making a noise?
Yes.
I think those people should have some sympathy for the people living under those missiles right now.
It is. I shouldn't laugh. I shouldn't laugh. But yeah, there would be. It was a Weather Channel last week. That's right.
Man of drones are not that noisy. Their drones are not as bad as that 50cc moped in the UK that's just going. Or so those mower out and something.
Are those still a thing? Are kids on 50s? Is there still a thing in Europe? Does it still happens?
Yeah.
The traffic in that area. I've been to the exact location where the drones actually launched from, and around 3 o'clock, from about 3 o'clock up until about 7 o'clock, the traffic is absolutely diabolical there, and it's really loud. And the drones are not loud.
But the traffic's not going to spy on your wife as she sunbathes nude in the pool by the pool. Yeah, that's the big thing.
It's ridiculous, and it's okay. It's okay to say yes, drones are not loud. I've been there. I've witnessed what it's like, and it's not. It's not. It's ridiculous.
To be fair, now the number of complaints was something trivial, especially versus the flights. But the trouble is, it's just people when they want to make an issue over something. The fact of the matter is, they just don't like seeing a drone going over their house, so they're looking for something to moan about. And so an easy thing to do is go, "Oh, it's making some noise." But you're having to, there'll be people that are specifically listening out for it and wanting to make an issue of it. That's the way it comes across. But I think Manor anyway were working or already have or in the process of making the drone even quieter. So,
well, funny you should mention that, because this pattern, and I'm glad you. It's almost like this bit was planned. I happen to have this ready. It's like it's scripted, isn't it? But Manor, of course, are very involved in this coaxial patent dispute because they've had a legal claim against them. Philip has spoken to the grown-ups, and the grown-ups have agreed, and it's cost them an awful lot of money, have agreed to look into the patent because it's not new and novel and all those other things. Meanwhile, at the same time, he's helped fund Tridge and the ArduPilot devs to create the firmware. Now you can run two props running in the same direction on the same arm, and that gets around it. It does result in about a 10% loss in power, though, so it's not the final answer. The final answer is to get rid of that Nordic Unmanned patent, but Manor are very, very in this. Manor are testing this now on their delivery drones. So there you
NASA
have.
got around it by flying their coaxial helicopter on Mars, where patents don't apply.
Yes, that would be the other. That would be the other way of doing it. Yes, flying on another planet.
So here's my question: when was this patent first appeared? When did it first appear?
That gives me the opportunity to read what I wrote. March 31st of March 2007. So that was Air Robot, that German company had it, and then that was passed on to Nordic Unmanned. They bought them out, and then Nordic Unmanned are now hang on. Go on.
Did you not make those little coaxial rubber helicopter things when you were a kid, where you put a rubber band on the propeller on the top and the base blades? This prior art.
The prior art for this is almost endless, but they got the patent. I never understand these things.
Did Archimedes make one like the North?
He did, didn't he? He did.
Royalties.
Yeah, exactly. So Philip's busy trying to knock this one out, and they've agreed to, what's the grown-up words for it? There's a grown-up word. Because he was unsuccessful. Phillips had a couple of go. These are all the bits. It's all just numbers and nonsense, isn't it? I can't remember what it is. But
I think all those bits there are the examples of the prior art of saying this already existed, aren't they?
Yeah. They are. So, and Quantum Systems bought Nordic Unmanned. But Air Robot kept hold of the patent, so that's the only thing they kept was that patent, and so that's the Nordic Unmanned kept it. So he's having to go at that. But as I say, share this one. It said the ArduPilot team have made the other way work. It's not as efficient, but it works. So that's quite good for the industry, I think.
Do we know? Out of interest, how many companies they've gone after?
Not many, just a handful, particularly not DJI. I wonder why.
They basically looked at sort of potentially up and coming, where they see them as a little more vulnerable.
Yeah, I reckon. But it can't go on. Low hanging fruit. So I don't know whether that makes Manor louder or not, I don't know, but they're running that as well, and I did see those complaints.
Yeah, it'd be quieter if they got the patent rights.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that'll make the whole delivery much quieter. But before we get on to the and then interesting. Oh, I should have kept that sharing thing going. Some quite good news for Quantum Systems. Getting into bed with Airbus, really, and I really like this thing. I might copy this because I like the high aspect ratio almost idea of that flying wing, and I'm quite interested to see what happens with these. How do you think they work? These, when I copy this, how am I going to make it work? What do you think they're doing with these control surfaces? Because they're plainly not one large surface.
So it takes off vertically.
Takes off vertically.
So same as Winktra then.
Yeah, it's a tail sitter. I saw it.
It is a tail sitter, but do you think these are moving in a different direction, or have you? So, did you see this one at the show, Josh?
I saw it at CubePilot.
Does it have tilting motors?
Sorry, I have to clarify. I saw it set up, and they were going to do demos, but I left, so I don't know all the details. But I know it's a tail sitter.
That's absolutely no good at all, then, isn't it? I've seen one in this photo. That's about as much good as that is.
I saw it 3 feet away, and it's sitting on its tail.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's outside my wheelhouse on how. But there's definitely somebody here who knows how.
Yeah, those inboard surfaces would be elevons, but the outboard ones are probably aileron only, which means you can run the outboard part of the wing with a slight positive camber and therefore get more lift while the inboard part provides the stability.
There we go. That's the answer I was after. Yeah, that's kind of thinking it must be something like that, and to mix it in. And then while we're on that, because we should. Oh, I know, easier. Yes, there's the Parrot UKR announce, ANAPA UKR announce at Paris.
Is this what you're talking about last week, Josh?
Yes.
I thought, because when I seen this, I thought that's what you talked about. Yeah.
I saw this at AUVSI.
Apparently, it's a very handy system, according to all those involved with these sort of things. And I see Parrot moved away from the very shiny hand controller that they were using before. There's probably a button on there that says release, and then in the news, we have an unusually high number of people on this podcast that are actually in this group. That's Josh and Stephen are apparently drone technology experts. Nobody from this has plainly watched this podcast, so that's good. Thank goodness they haven't. So congratulations, chaps. Where do you think that's going to go?
So I'm the technical lead of the ASDM. I'm the technical lead of the ASDM parachute standard. So I live in this world a little bit. And so we deal with geofences, flight termination systems. So for me, I'm coming to sit and listen. There's drone light show people who know way more than I know. So to me, it's more about seeing, and if we go down the avenue of flight termination systems, what's the architecture validation? If we go to geofences, how do we double check? Outside of that, there's probably a lot way outside my wheelhouse to contribute to holistically. I'm good at a couple niches.
Yeah, I think one thing that we really need to focus on is the systems themselves, because there's quite a few different systems out there, and there needs to be an understanding of what those systems are, because I don't want to say too much here, but it's more that one thing I was concerned about from the very beginning when this incident happened in Orlando is that how are the FAA and the NTSB going to investigate if they don't know the system? If they don't know, obviously if you have an incident, if you have an incident man deviation, you're going to have people who know Airbus and will know Boeing. So to do a proper investigation, knowing the system, but there's so many systems, there has to be some kind of balance between understanding what it is that everyone or every system has to have, and it has to be transparent. Even though permissions are being given, whether that's Part 107 waiver or it's going to be SORA Sale 2, there has to be, from the regulatory side, there has to be an understanding rather than a rubber stamp.
Well, not also what's going to be interesting is there are so many systems that do things that, how can they keep these systems still flying? Because the problem is these systems are millions of pounds out there. Mm-hmm. And if you suddenly turn around and go, well, you can't fly it if it can't do this, that, or the other without some sort of major change that then writes off that entire fleet, that's going to be a problem. Do you increase the safety distance because the drones, need a certain bit more for the geofence to trigger or something? There's got to be these kind of questions. Yeah. The bubble geofence looks to be coming, and the bubble geofence is really cool. because when that comes, that'll be fantastic, because then the drone flies within this so it knows the route it's going to fly, but literally around it there'll be a 5-meter geofence all the way around it. So if that one drone comes out of its situation too much, that's it, geofence triggered, down she comes, or so a safety measure is triggered, be it land or whatever. But
there are systems that have that already.
Yes,
there are systems that do have that. I don't think they would call it. Well, I mean, they don't call the bubble geofences. They just say that they've moved too far out. The system knows, and it just returns to home. It's as simple as that. Of course, that's when they're in control, of course, and when they have that ability to do that. But obviously, as we see, sometimes that's not the case, So
well, I can't say too much, but we've got a couple of bits going on that's going to not make that. It's going to means you can do something about it, but I'll not say too much.
I think the thing that's important to understand with the ASDM standards is, one, it's industry with regulators sitting there. They're not going to tell you though, and ultimately, like, to me, the ASDM goal is to have a standard in which a regulator, whether it's the UK, the FAA, etc., accept that if the drone's designed to this standard. Because when you look at ASTMs, there's three things you can do, like standards on design, standards on testing. In my view, it's probably like, how do you make sure that a drone light show is safe? Then you define what safe is, including the geofences, and making sure it's not the secret sauce on how you do your geofence. It's if the drone breaches geofence within 5 meters, it terminates flight. There's those nuances, so that way you don't have to give away secret sauce. The detect and avoid standard has a lot of that, and then when I look at the parachute standard, it's like, got to go test it 49 times. These are the tests. Pass this, you're good. And so that's where, and then obviously, there's people with technical debt that won't want to upgrade to certain standards. And that's the one thing about the standards a lot of people have to understand is you don't have to comply. You can go to your CAA and you can request an exemption or a proposal for your own means of compliance. This is supposed to be, like, usually when we deal with ASTM, it's one way to do it, not the only way. And it's just a way that, again, when we look at the parachute standard, it's widely accepted. So if you want to bring in something else and test a different way, you can. You just have to recognize that the regulator isn't familiar, and it's going to just take more time.
Yeah, and I think that the seeing the amount of people that are there from all the different companies is slightly reassuring that there's an open mind, and there's a want to make this actually happen. Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. I think it's going to take some time, but yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Mark, I think you should be involved in this.
Do I apply, or is it an invite? I don't know.
We'll sort it out.
Oh yeah, it's an open game. Like, a lot of people think there's like these doors, but like anyone, like, I think to be a part of ASTM is like $100 a year, and you get access to all the standards. And then, like, there's no rules on not, like, you have their biggest thing with ASTM, actually, from my perspective, is they're worried about making sure one company doesn't stack it and get their way. They're worried about company X who's got too much money, and so everyone gets one vote. So it's very democratic, and you can derail the process by voting negative. It goes through all this long process. So to me, like, ASTM is a very fair system that everyone's allowed to join. There is no rules. You just have to figure out, and there'll be a technical lead. They have some power, but not ultimately. It sits in a room and people vote. And, like, for us to change the parachute standard, it took us 18 months to just do an iteration, because there's some companies. Can I make a suggestion? Yeah.
Can we have Kevin Finister there and then sit him next to Stephen? Because I don't think they finished their argument on X off properly.
Oh, is there another one? Oh no!
Can it be pay-per-view?
No. This is the old original one. This is the old original.
Oh, okay.
But I think when you go down that whole route of GNSS and radio, I think that's going to be, that's never going to get fixed unless unless there's now a dedicated frequency, which means every company has to go in and use this dedicated frequency that cannot be jammed or whatever. But I don't know how that.
Well, and the question is that the concern of the regulator? Do the regulator cares if it gets jammed? Because what's the frequency? What's the likelihood? What's the probability? What's the severity? All that good stuff. Also, if you're looking for a tail sitter, you should ask this guy in the bottom who's a fake American or a real American, depending on the day.
Elbows up, if you say so. If you say so, yeah. Well, I've got the picture up. We've had a. Hello there, Bobby. Welcome. Well, was on light shows. We have to say. I mean, look at that tree. Was it 11,000 drones, something like that? I mean, it's just amazeballs. It's amazing. It's amazing, isn't it? It's quite a thing.
Did you already talk about how those are national security threats, or did I miss something?
No, we haven't even. Oh yeah, I've forgotten that. All right. Should we go down that rabbit hole?
No. But if you look at this just for a second, I sent you a link, Gary, at the weekend. Did you see that link?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go? Oh no. Do you want me to go off and get it then? All right. I'll stop doing this.
No, this is public. I think it's the CEO of the Moda, which is from the show that you've seen doing the 11,000 drones, and he's right, and he's apparently upset with the CEO of UVFi. Is it UVFi? Yeah. And there's been accusations of certain kinds of drones flying in certain countries and stuff like that, and this kind of spilled out online. I thought it was quite funny. But there's been accusations and there's kind of let's say in-country fighting. One country says one thing, the other country says the other, and it's quite interesting.
Here we are, CCP. Chinese drone swarms are flying over US cities. What looks like a light show could be a Trojan horse. No, it's a light show. A Trojan horse looks like a Trojan horse. Anyway,
a horse in the sky. Someone put a horse in the sky.
Exactly.
All right. So a lot of people saw this. I saw this too, and I was wondering if this guy was going off the rails on something.
No, I've known Josh for a while. I've known Rob for a while. He's pretty reasonable. He's not one of these MAGA folks. Adam Bree, who I know is not one of those either, echoed something pretty similar in that latest update. Like when China has a drone show, it's like a show of military force. And like, if I'm being honest with you, I'm concerned that we're not taking this whole thing from NDA thing seriously. If we can talk about the EO, because I've had many people ask about this. I've spoken with others, like this idea of a preference for American-made systems. Like, trust me, man, I would love to have bought everything made in America my entire life. And knock on wood, there's some things that we do real well, but I look around, there's not a lot of things that we're making super high quality, super high tech and large volume, other than these larger legacy defense systems. And we'll tie it
except 66% of your Blue UAS list is American. 66%.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. They are overwhelmingly American. And what I'm seeing is, all right, so other countries aren't going to buy the blue shit. And what you're seeing is this huge rattling. Like today, they announced Blue Select, which is blue with ATO. And
I didn't see that. Blue Select, Blue Plus, Blue Plus Plus.
So there's a lot of like I have like very strong perspectives of that. I'm American, right? Like I want us to be great. I want us to be exceptional. And with respect, I would argue that America has had the most exceptional military capabilities for a long time. But let's talk about some geopolitical shit that happens like pretty recently. Everybody's really worried about Iran getting nukes. And the last time Iran fired a bunch of drones at Israel, there was some general, I forgot who it is, or some admiral that said, you don't need nukes. You can build like 1 million drones. It's way more powerful than having any sort of nukes, right? I'm going to say two things that this is what deeply concerns me. One is like, a lot of the shit that's happening right now in the world, I don't think people understand the repercussions of, because China's just sitting there chilling. And like I've said this in multiple videos, the reason I don't like the Chinese drone ban is because like I don't want our adversaries to continue to get the latest and greatest shit. I want us to get the best stuff so that we can reverse engineer it and achieve product parity. But no, when Iran has a bunch of Mavics, like they don't have a problem using that type of stuff, right? So this is something for me that has been like on my mind, because we all know what these FPV drones can do. We saw the government of Syria collapse because a bunch of Islamists that were trained by Ukrainian mercenaries had to build these drones that most of us can build in our garages to blow some shit up and cause havoc. And then I am concerned that as a result, like, you know, Iran is like the first thing that the US is trying to send a message to China and Russia. Dude, DJI is a toy company today. You don't think the Chinese government has the ability to flex on DJI and be like, nah, you're a military company now. And these millions of drones you crank out just with these exquisite cameras, now they're going to have a fucking warhead on it too. Then we have a problem. Then all of this exquisite naval systems and everything, mind you, I don't have like security clearance, right? But I talk with many people who do, and I posited this challenge for the last couple of weeks, ever since I was at Soft Week. Chinese send millions of drones. Our tier 1 groups are destroyed. Our Navy is severely weakened and destroyed. And like, listen, as an American, I'm not trying to live under Chinese rule. This is where Patrick Egan and I are aligned. Okay. So what you're going to see as a result of this executive order, as a result of what's happening geopolitically, is a huge disruption in supply chain. You're going to see, like, look at what happened at the Paris Air Show. That's something that I think you're going to see as like a cue. Because we do rely on Israel for a lot of different products and solutions, etc. And I'm going to posit that they're going to have a lot of difficulty selling their product in the last little bit to different countries and whatnot. And I think as a result, you're going to see huge opportunity in the supply chain to fill in these gaps. And this idea of NDAA compliance is the baseline for which the Western world operates on, right? When it comes to blue, my understanding is none of you good folks really give a shit. None of your defense organizations really give a shit. You just
would challenge that. We're now getting that propaganda, and I think other countries are too, where they think it's a list that the problem is people perceive it as a list of merit, not a like they think, oh, there must be some checks and balances. I had someone tell me yesterday that it's the lazy person's way to pick a drone. It's like, I bought off this list. It's like, so it's turning into a risk. So if you're a government procurement person, it's a way to de-risk because the supply chain is so complex and there's so many levels of like what is a Chinese made versus whatever made product. And so it's becoming a shortcut for people who maybe don't understand the full supply chain.
Well, nobody got fired for buying IBM, wasn't it? Something like that. It's the same sort of thing, isn't it?
I think the man from Xerox did.
Yeah, there's a reason why. There's a reason why we get our drone made in America now. You know, we have we license it to be made in the States because it just makes life easier.
It makes life easier, but it's more expensive, and the customer pays more in the end. And let me ask you, does it solve the ultimate? Because I don't care what product you use. Like for me, I want you to have the best tool possible, whether it's Chinese, whatever. And actually, in the end, I want America to no longer have to rely on China for a number of stuff. I'm talking to you on a MacBook. It was made in China. Your computer's likely made in China, and most of the stuff in your kitchen and room, etc. This is a really hard problem to solve. And I'd advise all of you, if you get a chance, you should look up Arnold Works on YouTube. He just made a video. It's like a college seminar, 20 minutes long, about why it's absurd to not make things in China because of things like tooling and screws and those things. So if you think of the value of stuff, and like, man, I'm a pragmatic person. I don't like to consider myself an opulent individual. I don't like inflation. And you want to bring things to be, you're forcing us to pay more for a product that offers less capabilities today. That's a hard value prop. And everyone's like free market, which I'm all about. This is not the free market, man. This is like some Soviet shit where you're forcing people to build stuff domestically. That's shoddy. And I don't like that. Pardon the irony here.
Yeah.
I mean, thankfully, I've seen a few quotes from a few Chinese companies. I would say our drone matches, thankfully, pricing roughly. So, yeah.
Well, this complaint from DJI says the US government still hasn't started. It's mandated security. It has started it. It's done it. We know the results. They don't like it. we know the results. The results are in.
This is. I think inevitably DJI will get banned. I think inevitably America's going to make a bad decision, and countries historically have made poor decisions, right, in their own best interests, as history has shown, right? We are not again, like my entire business is based on like helping these companies try and catch up. We don't have the capability today to figure something out like in the short term today, 10 years, 5 years for sure, but it's not going to happen. And I have a deep disrespect for folks at AUVSI and every other CEO at an American drone company, but like, it's not going to happen. And I saw someone talk about Taiwan. Taiwan's like a great, one example of many places, but you go with we're not leveraging Taiwan the way that we should be. We're not leveraging all of our supply chain. We should be building millions of drones at overseas and NDA compliant as possible to stock up. So I don't know. I'm not.
Is this not just? This is just Harley Davidson all over again.
Great example.
Remind me what happened with Harley Davidson? I've forgotten. What was that? Didn't they start making them in India or something?
Go check the private chat. I put in a link there. It talks about how Harley had petitioned the government in like the 70s and 80s to ban the Japanese because they were accused of dumping and all that good stuff.
Yep.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay. It's from, all right. I'll put that up. That's from back from the Christian Science Monitor, no less. From back then. Okay. Yeah, these sort of things don't work, do they? It's the bottom line, and it's a pity. It's well, I'm going to say it, Josh, but it's American exceptionism. People going along and believing that of course their stuff is the best, and they're finding out hard. And one of my perspectives on this would be that they're going to slacken the rules for exporting ITAR and stuff like that. Well, that means American stuff's going to be playing with the big boys. Then the rest of the world's going to quickly say, "Oh no, this thing's rubbish."
But how is this going to happen now? So let's say the ban comes in 6 months' time. There's going to be, I don't know, hundreds or thousands of companies out there in the US that have enough drones to get by, that are fulfilling the needs of the clients who have let's say a particular software. What's going to happen in about a year and a half's time when drones have to be replaced, but there's no, let's say, solution for the softwares that they have?
I can answer that.
Jobs are going to get lost. Jobs will be lost. I mean, people keep talking in the US, and I keep seeing this from certain people. They keep talking about search and rescue, and it's a shame we have this. I think there's jobs going to get lost here. There's people with livelihoods are going to get lost.
It'll just be that anti-robotics have a load more drones in green.
Well, there's already people losing their jobs. Like, how many American-owned DJI dealers have had to lay off huge amounts of staff and downsize?
There's a lot. I mean, there's two things. DJI, fortunately, has built an ecosystem and an infrastructure, more importantly, the ecosystem, for it's like, great. I mean, man, last time I checked, there's a lot of product that I can still write DJI software for. That's a couple of years old. And I would defer to Josh and many of you wonderful folks here who have real DSP experience and just how well made these products are and how robust they are. So if you're using them, they probably are going to last years. And so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, it's like that people don't lose their jobs. And here's the thing: it's not the losing of jobs; it's the people losing hope or belief in the industry and the technology, right? Because it was DJI who, let's be straight, like they're the ones who helped make all this happen, to show what was possible with the optics, the radio links, the SDK, all of this richness of engineering, all that shit. I don't know if people are going to continue to use drones, and I think that they might just consider looking at other applications. I think there are many companies out there, like it's like I'm building components, for example. I'm building like high-end payloads in America that are NDA compliant, and I'm able to beat people at a super low cost. And somebody who I deeply respect, one of like the top CEOs and the whole thing, he's like, dude, don't sell it for cheap because you can. Sell the best fucking product, and that's why people are going to buy it. At the end of the day, the certain customers, the AEC and the defense customers with the big pockets, they're the ones buying $250,000 vectors from Quantum Systems. They're the ones buying the Edge Autonomy Stalkers and the $50,000 payloads from Trillium and all these other things. Like, there's opportunity here, but like you have to build and I have to give Skyio credit. I'm going to be 100% honest. I've had you'll notice my rhetoric from Skyio has changed. I'm so critical of the lobbying. It is an incredibly well-made drone that is not reliant on China in the way people think it is. We got to give it credit, right? The problem is, I think they've muddied the waters with the messaging of we're better than China, which is it's fantastic for what it is. It's like some random white guy from Minnesota trying to cook tandoori against a bunch of Indian people, right? They're like, the Indian people will be like, he makes great tandoori for a white guy. He just didn't do this, this, and this, right? We'll give credit where credit is due. Up against the Chinese, Skyio, you're not cooking the best tandoori. Compared to everybody else out here in the West, they're doing a very good job. The issue is the product is like, there can't just be one. And the gap between Skyio and everybody else is not as big as DJI and Skyio and everybody else. We got to figure this out, because it's not like all of it's. There's a term, crabs in a bucket. I don't know if you guys use that overseas. That's really what the Western drone industry is becoming. We're all just like stomping on top of each other to try and climb out of this bucket and figure this out. And it's like, listen, if you can figure a way to create an ecosystem with interoperability, modular open system architecture, true supply chain resilience, like in automotive industry, et cetera, this drone industry in the West is going to be worth like hundreds of billions of dollars. And
they have to do it really quickly, though. They can't mess around. There's not much time left. There's a
5-year window. I think there's a 5-year window. No one's going to catch DJI. Like, let's call it spade a spade. But number 2 is, well, Autel and Parrot and DJI, let's put them at another pedestal of scale manufacturing. Everyone else, I think, could be caught in the next 5 years based on stumbles and bad ideas. I think, someone launches a product that they rush it out and then 6 months later, customers, they've lost trust. But like, I think the next 5 years is going to be another rat race, because the hole that DJI leaves with 75, 78, 80% market share will result in a huge opportunity. And I think like I guess your perspective, Bobby, who's going to win the VTOL race?
I'll be straight with you. So, okay. I have no inside information. This is just me deducing this. When Skyio shows 1,000-foot VIO, there's only
that's where it's going,
right? They're building the VTOL, right? And if you look at the DFR strategy, it's likely going to be like deployed from the back of a truck. It's likely going to be, and I'll bet you, battery charging. Okay, and Skyio, totally smart, like elite engineers, smart people. Okay,
but hey, me, sir. Then I'll say to you, when that happens, told you so. They should have gone with the flying wing in the garage from the start.
Amen.
Jumping to the multi-rotor was a mistake. They should have gone fixed wing from the start. But anyway,
something about Skyio, and again, I have been, I think, inappropriately harsh on the company in some ways. In some ways, I think I was justifiably, trying to hold them accountable, like saying the product does all these things it doesn't do. Brilliant engineers, but I don't think that the ethos of the company, the DNA of the company, is a defense product. I don't think the DNA of the company, in the end of the day, is like a public safety product. It was what DJI is, which is a consumer product, and it's fantastic. Like I gave the S2 to my dad because he does like interior HVAC stuff, so he uses it. But like, I was using it for mountain biking. It is exceptional, and the pedigree of the company, these guys came from GoPro. They bought a bunch of GoPro's IP. I think that Skyio is under a bunch of investment pressure, and this is a broader conversation. I think the VCs, the VCs have this crazy ability now to almost like choose winners and almost stack the deck in their own, preference. And now they're like multinational, right? Like, I got love for the Lightspeed folks. I got to invest with them in Orca. I think even before they even got in. But like, those homies have offices in all over the world. I don't think that the people who are the LPs at Lightspeed or Andreessen Horowitz, et cetera, are a level of wealth that people understand. And a lot of these people are supranational, right? So like, it's whatever happens in the world, they're going to be fine. And that's not like the rest of us in this industry, right? So like,
Amazon, wash your mouth out, Amazon won't win.
Skyio is opening an office. You saw that publicly, right? They're opening an office in Finland, in this town that's like renowned for optics. Like, they're very, very good. The Finnish are extremely well versed at building cameras. So you can,
Sorry, where in Finland are they? Where?
Your house. They bought your house.
They bought my house.
No,
yeah, they bought your house. Yeah.
There's many.
I'm in Finland, actually, Bobby. I'm actually in Finland.
Oh, really? It's been on my list.
Look out your window. Can you see them?
Can you see them? Are they there? Are they there? Are they there?
If you go look at their their posts, you'll see they open an office there, or maybe they interacted with the post. I'll send you a link privately. But the thing that Skyio has, again, who I think will win the VTOL race. I mean, Quantum Systems has been focused on building one type of product up until very, very recently, until they raised a bunch of money and they bought Air Robot for, I think, like a song from the folks at Nordic Unmanned. But all they do is VTOL. So like, I've seen what Quantum does, and I've been to like the Edge Factory and other places as well. I'm very, very impressed with what Quantum Systems does. I believe that the Twister with the dock is like the single best DFR platform out there. And I also think just the level of it's funny because I'm again, as an ignorant American, if you will, I hadn't traveled to Europe, and the cultural memes are true. The Germans, extremely precise and conservative, not just in their sense of humor, but in their engineering and in their expectations. So I remember there was this product, and I was like, oh man, like I was asking Florian, I was like, why didn't you do this with it? He's like, it's not ready. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, it's like it has like grass stains on the props. There's GoPro mounts, like this thing's flying. He's like, yeah, you Americans would probably say TRL 7. Here it's like TRL 4 or 5. And so like the level of like advancement of that product, in my opinion, on the VTOL side is really, I think Skyio has the ability because of the resources to build a really incredible VTOL product. I do not, yeah, there we go, Tampere. I don't know where that is, but
it's about 2 hours from Helsinki.
Yeah, so I mean, these guys are, and you know, the Finnish are brilliant people. They're very technically skilled. Some of the smartest folks I've met, and friendly. And I think that this is part of the Skyio strategy, is to kind of like leverage this global supply chain. But the vertical integration of the product is something that's difficult. So they're going to build their own payloads, I guarantee you. This is very obvious. They're going to build their own cameras and payloads and things like that. And the total addressable market, let me ask you, of selling a vertically integrated solution versus just selling components for everybody else is really what they're going to have to raise money on. And so, you know, listen, their tech, the autonomy stuff is fantastic. The VIO is real. And we've seen how impressive, in my opinion, the gap from the the X10D is what we all want the X2 to be, right? I'm curious what the VTOL will be like. And I'm willing to give them, again, the benefit of the doubt because, and I want them to be good. I want them to, like, in some ways compete with quantum for probably healthy for the industry, right? But this idea, like, look on the road, man, how many, it's like Ford isn't kicking Chevy's ass, vice versa, or like there's a bunch of different car companies out there. And this is Eric Brock. I think one of the most like prescient people in the whole drone industry. He said something to me like a year ago, a commercial year. I think Josh, you were at that dinner. He was like, listen, in 5 to 10 years, we're all going to make a shit ton of money. This is like the early automotive industry where nothing is really compatible. People are trying to make their own, you know, brake rotors and tires and like steering wheels. And it was really hard to support the customer. And eventually we're going to figure out how to build an ecosystem. Steven Freeberg, the CEO of UXV, said something also equally enlightening, probably in November when I visited him. He's like, man, everybody's like has this farce that you're supposed to be making software as a service like returns on and margin. Like that's bullshit. He's like, you guys are delusional. This is the VC problem. Now he's also, God bless him, one of the only people who's never raised money making ridiculous amounts of revenue, making GCS controllers. Okay, but he said at the end of the day, you're going to have suppliers, tier 1 and tier 2, integrators, and OEMs, and the margins in the end for an OEM will be like 7%, but they're going to sell like tens of millions of product. So the revenue is going to be really good, right? And if you look at automotive, it's kind of the same way. And you know, the one thing about drones, and I have to say this with respect, other than FPV, where there is a difference about how things fly, the minute we go to any bit of autonomy, no one gives a shit about the performance, the handling, whatever. Like, I got love for all the pilots out there. I've flown many drones. People are like, oh my God, this drone is so stable. That's the baseline. The drone should fucking be stable. Like, the fact that it's not stable means there's a problem, okay? And so this idea of like how things handle, think of it when self-driving cars happen. No one's going to care about that. Now when everybody wants to buy a Mazda Miata with a fucking manual because that's the most analog, real experience. And I think that that's fun, right? But when it comes to drones, other than if you're ripping packs with your friends in the park, this is all for work. Autonomy.
Autonomy is going to,
just a tool.
Like no one's doing livery in a Porsche or a Miata. You know what I'm saying? Like,
a drone is just a tool. It's just a tool. It's how much money can that drone make for you, and that's I have a pile of drones. I've got several M350s here and other enterprise drones. It's never about how good that drone is in terms. It's true what you say, but it's always how much money is that going to? How much money will that make us? What sector can we work in to make that? That is what it's about. It's just a tool.
Such a capitalist.
I know.
Yeah, that's what I like in Finland. Look, this is my pick for the winner, Dufour, and in two ways.
For a while, haven't you, Gary?
It's such a simple, obvious thing.
VTOL. This is different when I mean VTOL. This is like ship. I don't actually. When I think of Dufour, I think of drone delivery. I think of logistics, ship to shore. When you meant VTOL, I thought of just like ISR. You know, the traditional.
Well, this will do 12 hours. This will do 12 hours with 20 kilos.
No. And again, these are exquisitely well-made products. I think they're out of Switzerland. I want to say Sasha, their CEO. I think I met him actually with Josh. Like, it's a fantastic product. To bring it back to the EO, if Dufour were to come out with something like this, okay, and I were to come out with something made in my garage in the United States, we don't know what the preference points are for me, Bobby Sakaki, making this homegrown thing in the United States with a bunch of Americans. You know, like, I might be able to beat them. And
do you think? So do you think there's a chance that executive order might have that amount of power in it, that you and your garage could keep that out of the way? Well, they wouldn't go for the best from overseas.
Nobody knows. It's like up for and DIU had this briefing today. Bless them. Like, man, a lot of people are very critical about DIU. I think they're doing what they can.
DIU.
And but they said, the whole time, like, you want to read the EO. And it's like, listen, I got love. You're talking to a bunch of beady folks for engineers, like, not a bunch of lawyers. Like, I don't know about you folks. Most Americans, we don't really know how to read laws. So you're asking us to read an executive order. Mind you, most things don't really occur via executive order in the United States, to interpret something like based on an industry with very little clarity. And, American drone dominance, listen, to me, wishful thinking today. We should be optimistic, but and I want what you're smoking. You can't even.
It's good to have a goal. It's good to have a goal in life, though, isn't it? You've got to have a direction to travel.
No, the opposite is something that Americans, we have over all y'all, with respect. We're blindly optimistic and idealistic, and it's that energy that people love. It's why people come to our country. We're enterprising.
Used to.
No, well, hold on. I think that the dream, we cannot lose hope of that dream, regardless of whoever's in the White House, for good or for bad, ever. Right? And I realize I've had 90% of people in this country agree on 90% of the same problems. It's our prescriptions for solving them that is the difference. And it's the same thing with the drone industry. So, I don't know if it's appropriate, just for the sake of business or product, to lower the bar of engineering, et cetera, and quality of product for the sake of regulatory stuff. But we need to aspire. But man, if you think about it pragmatically, Anduril, for how much money they've raised, they could have just bought Autel, just cash money. Bought Autel, the whole IP, and just kicking everybody's ass. But Anduril is buying components from everybody else, building their drones, right? And the drone's pretty good, but I'm pretty sure it's got a lot of constant equipment on it or in it. Right?
They're all in the army now, aren't they? They're all in the army now. They've all got their braids and their badges and their uniforms and everything.
I kind of laughed at this whole oh man, because I had a buddy, he's in the military now, and he's like, man, I'm not going to war for Israel. And he's like, I wonder if those guys from Unit 201 feel the same way.
Yeah, they'll send them exactly. That's perfect. They send them first. They can be in charge. Yeah,
and I mean, it is what it is. I just think at the end of the day, America needs the best tech capability and the best product possible to keep our country, the West in general. Every country wants their own stuff. What I'm seeing, and this is a huge worry of mine, is every nation doesn't want to work with other countries. Every nation's like, fuck you. I want my own in-house domestic capability. I want to be as delusional as America, right?
And so, not 6 months ago. This is a new thing. This is new. This is 6 months.
I can tell you what happened, right? Trump screwed Ukraine, right? And you could turn off certain tech. Everyone in Europe, all the countries, found out that America is not a loyal ally, shall we say, 100%, right? We'll treat you like a 60% trustworthy ally now, maybe 70%, right? And the whole of Europe has gone, all the countries have gone, screw this. We're going to plow all our knowledge now into our own systems, into our own in-house more than ever, right? America's proven, don't buy from them, basically. Right? Shot yourselves in the foot. Trump shot himself in the foot there. It's going to cost loads of sales on American tech. And it doesn't matter if America's building drones.
Simon's called it as well. The Weather Channel's gone very political. I'm going to move it away. I'm moving on to our favourite fun topic, airport sandwiches. Airport sandwiches are a problem from a security standpoint. You need the best sandwiches. Where's Ian gone? Is he there? Is he gone?
No, the problem with airport sandwiches is that they can introduce chemicals into the spread of mayo, and after you accumulate 30 sandwiches, you've now exceeded the maximum amount of mayo with chemicals. That's the actual issue.
Well, the issue is if you are on patrol at Gatwick after the great and famous incident, that's what the police complained about. They complained about the state of the sandwiches. They spent an awful lot of money. Mike's been sat here very, very, very calmly. We've had him here for an hour because his freedom of information requests have brought out quite an amazing thing, actually. It is a big deal. Well, Ian's gone, isn't he? Just
when you brought up the police and he left.
Yeah,
he did. He just went.
He's on the lam. He's on the lam.
And he just went. He just went. So I'm going to have to leave it to you, Mike, to explain to me just how many people are. Now we're referring now to not Gatwick, but the Lakenheath incident.
Yeah.
So take it away.
Okay. Well, after about 6 to 8 months of digging away and chiseling away at the MOD police, who have finally admitted that I had primacy for the investigation at Lakenheath and the alleged drone incidents, as we can put it. Yesterday, or rather today, I finally was told that although they won't tell me how many witnesses they've spoken to, they won't tell me how many suspects they've identified, and they won't tell me what other imagery or footage they've got, but they did tell me they've got 46 officers working on the case, which is absolutely astounding. That to me is probably twice as many as you would get for a standard murder investigation in this country.
How many policemen does it take to chase a rainbow?
Why am I paying my tax again? Someone remind me what I pay my tax for in this country. Christ.
Well, I'll add to that. I did a few back of a fag packet calculations from some figures that I had from a few years ago, and I would reckon between the 1st of December and today, that comes to about anything between £500,000 and £1 million.
Well, do you know, right?
So you're a bad. Sorry, Mike, but you're a bad news for Mike, because being not only are you an ex-policeman, but you're the next policeman that run the foyer side on that sort of side for them. So you're a nightmare for them.
The other interesting thing is the bits they won't tell me is under Section 31 of FOIA, which is investigation. Now, the interesting thing is they're saying they can't release it because it will either prevent or hinder future detections of crimes and future court cases. But the issue is let's say they don't arrest or deal with anybody. At some point, that exemption is going to come to an end. On the other side of the coin, if they do prosecute somebody, then all lawyers under the Criminal Prosecution Information Act, if I get that right, of 1996, have to have the information disclosed to them unless there's a very good reason. So they may have 5 suspects, but only charge 1. But the defending lawyer will have the right to know who the other 4 are. So, we're going round and round in circles here with these people.
So, why would you say help us? None of us are policemen. You'd say about 20 people would normally work on a murder case, and that surely must be the pinnacle of policing. Or that's this horrible thing, isn't it? So that must be the thing you've got to sort out quick.
Yeah, I mean,
why would it take 40 odd people to work on this? What could they possibly have that's that much bigger than a murder case?
Well, I mean, I'm probably just as up to date on what they may or may not have as the rest of you. And that, I mean, we know from, media and social media what they may or may not have gathered. Then they may well have, identified, let's say, 40 or 50 people who say, I saw lights, drones, whatever it was that night. How many lines of a statement can you get from somebody who says, I was outside Lakenheath that night and I saw a light in the sky that sounded like a drone, or whatever it is they're supposed to say? There's just too many people for too little work in my book there.
What they haven't disclosed is that 39 of those officers are actually just doing the FOIA work because of all the complaints Ian's filed.
And the other 10 are making the sandwiches.
I made a picture for you. Did you see the picture I made for you? I made a picture for you, and then I looked at the side, and you flipping weren't there. You bloody bugger! I led in with this. I thought about this, and I led in. I led in with that, and you weren't there for it. I don't know. And it should have. But Sam was right. It should have had a donut, shouldn't I? You're right. I should have done that. It's
part of me wants to go find a field just outside their FRZ at Lakenheath, just to one side so they can see it from the base. Put my NOTAM up and do everything correctly, but then I want to put a drone show of.
Hang on, just give me keep on talking, Ian. Keep on talking, Ian.
Where you're going to stay? You're going to put up a giant penis, please.
No.
That's the part of him.
I put a UFO or something in the sky. Do you know what I mean? Put like an alien invasion coming or something.
Oh, you could with the light show, couldn't you? Oh, yeah, that would be fantastic, wouldn't it? That would be fantastic. But I've got just the place. I know exactly where you can launch from. I'm going to get to that. I'll go get to that.
Well, I'd have to get permission from the landowner. The CA very, very stickler about this for drone shows, you know. Got to get permission from the landowner.
There is, let me share this tab instead. There is just the perfect, I think I shared it last week, but you weren't here last week, were you? There is the absolute perfect place. Here's the base, and up here, there's a Royal Observer Corps. It's just somewhere near somewhere, a Royal Observer Corps station. And that is about the only high ground for miles. Oh, there it is there, ROC post. And it's a museum now. But it's about the only high ground for miles and miles and miles. And when I say high, I mean it's about 10 meters. And it looks completely onto the airfield. So yeah, that's where you should put your show. Put your show there. Or there.
FRZ.
Oh, it'd be very much just like FRZ.
I'd have to be about 2.5 miles out, but they would see it. Trust me.
Yeah, I wonder. Yes, it's quite extraordinary. What the end of this will be, I don't know.
It's worth knowing, if Mike's not mentioned it already, with that volume of staff, given the amount of time the operation's been in progress, it's very possible they could have spaffed as much taxpayers' money as Sussex Police did on Gatwick already. So it's kind of amazing, I think, if they spent that kind of money. Yeah, this isn't something that's even being, discussed outside of, a bit of your drone and UAP scene.
Yeah,
but didn't we say
with all that money they're spending, I think all the illegal immigrants will have to be downgraded to Android phones instead of iPhones.
But how much money did the launching the F-15s cost and all that sort of thing? Having them on combat air patrol.
No.
I mean, they have spaffed a great deal of money on this. A great deal of money.
Well,
the police bill
we don't pay for.
Well, I bet we do. I bet we do somehow. I bet there's some small print somewhere.
Won't someone think of the planet? Where's Greta? She should be here complaining about all this jet fuel they're using. How dare you?
I mean, it's perhaps. I mean, I would kind of like it to be a UAP. It would be really cool if they got 40 people going, how on earth are we going to explain this? It would be very, very interesting. It'd be very interesting indeed. Or it could be 40 people going, oh no, how are we going to explain the seagull that flew through the sensor and we did all the avoiding action and stuff? So
have they created any new positions like inspector for drone propaganda or anything within the police?
Not that we're aware of.
No.
Well, I mean, the thing we're waiting for at the moment is obviously the Air Proximity Board report. That's due out any second now. That could be
they did a report of last year and it didn't make it into it, did it? They did their overarching report of the year and it didn't get in there, which was very noticeable. We shall have to see. Look, we got to.
As I say, it is an odd one for the fact that there was an air prox with a drone in December, and that managed to get into January. This one hasn't, but they're saying there's been some to in and fro in with the MPAS pilot. But the interesting thing is they didn't do that until May. So really, they still have stalled it because it's not like if it had been like, December, we did the pilot and he came back to us, and then it was January, and then it came back and it was February. You could understand the time, but if you were saying, oh well, this is important, it's significant, you'd think it'd be something that'd be privatized and through the system. But we know, well, it comes across like that's exactly what they didn't want to do. They want to be okay. They want the questions to continue for as long as they can.
It's a rum do, and the trouble is, it drags. It's not quite as frivolous. We're talking about almost in a frivolous way, but this misinformation drags the drone industry down. We all suffer because of it, and it's perhaps you won't say dishonesty, but stretching of the truth or massaging the truth is not narrative. It's not a good look for the police or anybody involved. It's not a good look for anyone involved. And the truth is out there, as they say. You just want to get to the truth, and it could be a mistake, it could be a UAP, it could be whatever. But let's just get somewhere and move forward, but not burn that much money. Be extraordinary. Not many of our viewers will be Archers listeners, but in the Archers, one of the characters has been sent up north to do some policing. So it's like that. I imagine there's 48 of him sent off.
How's your horse? Oh, my horse got dropsy. Or I tried turpentine. Oh yeah,
they are. You see, yeah. Let's see. It even gets New Zealand.
Yeah.
Look, we've just gone over the hour now. So do we? Is it Ian hour or?
I've definitely got a little bit of news.
Here we go. All right, every sitting comfortably out there now. Get yourself a drink, sit comfortably. Okay.
It was just interesting to know that Ashore are doing yet another round of testing with up to 100 drones with the counter drone system. So just that process in America is still continuing, which. This could all, I think it all ties back to the New Jersey, New York, Lake and Heath anyway, doesn't it? They know that the systems aren't doing the job. So it'll be interesting to see, because this is the other interesting thing. A lot of the suppliers into the US so far, there's likes of your Drone Shield and that making, a lot of money selling products where I think some of that's gone over to the US. I think there will be casualties for companies out of the counter drone testing that's being done. But it kind of begs the question, why for years this hasn't been the norm anyway. The idea that you're putting stuff onto a United States Air Force base and you might not have the best gear that you could have. It's, for me, it seems a little bit bonkers when you consider how long the drone industry has existed and how long, this has been a potential issue. And you'd imagine with what's gone on with obviously Ukraine and for people that notice, Israel, there was video that they'd used a similar technique with drones, and one of the drones had pilot running on it. So it now, it must be, have governments around the world now really worried and thinking about, how well defended are our air bases really?
Well, and how much we've overspent on not using ArduPilot, by using Boeing and whatever. It's like, actually, I didn't put it in. Let's quickly put that. There's the one I used for the Pele. This one, I love this. Drone flying towards volcano. Is it? See, there it is. Look at that picture. I mean, what does that really say about the industry now? Drone gets volcano.
Where's Godzilla?
Yeah, where's Godzilla exactly?
Yeah,
But your Boeings and stuff of the world and your GASI, they don't have a flight stack that is 100 times better than the open source flight stacks now. They don't. I suppose it's 1,000 monkeys typing, will they ever write Shakespeare sort of a thing, but that's where we've reached, and the flight stacks are only going to get better still. And it's done. The flying part's a done deal now, and that's
does ArduPilot have a ceiling?
A ceiling? What altitude?
No, a ceiling like you're saying it's just getting better and better and better because you've got the power of a bunch of people working on it versus a company. So my question is, does ArduPilot have a ceiling?
Well,
so we talked about like
physics. Physics is going to be the limit. Physics.
And then solving, because the only thing that right now I would think that proprietary systems have over ArduPilot is the aviation standard pathway where you have control and traceability. But that could be figured out.
That can be. It has been figured out. You can DO-178 it. So that's figured out. It's just an extra.
Can I ask? Can you expand on that a little bit, though, Gary? Because I think you can doesn't mean that people have, and I think there's kind of this.
Well, let's find somebody that has. I know people have, but I can't think who it is. Let's have a look.
Is it Embarkation have one, Gary? Because they have a certified system.
Embention, yeah.
Yes.
Embention. Oh, you avionics, the George from you avionics. That's gone. But that went through with it.
So that went through DO with open source.
78C. Yeah, that's
so
right.
Why would you ever do it without ArduPilot at this point then? Why would you do your own?
I mean,
well, it's because then you've got control of it and things like that. I suppose I can see why you would, but it's no longer a unique.
Anyway.
It's not a unique.
Right?
EHang have got control of their version.
They have got control of their version. Yes, that's right. Exactly.
The kicker is people or big companies won't want, people to know all of a sudden there's an ArduPilot in there because they can't create something.
Here's the thing I know, and I'll let people join the knots. The CubePilot France branch is officially open.
Okay. I didn't know you're not talking about
Hello, mon ami.
Exactly. So all that means is they're eating croissants and stuff like that. That's all. But that is officially open. They got the paperwork through.
Do they get the same vacation as the Aussies?
Probably a lot.
Well, if you open enough places, offices in enough countries, you could be on holiday all the time, couldn't you? That would be a very positive thing about opening. You get enough countries, you just follow all the holidays and just stay on holiday.
They'll just be on strike all the time. It's okay.
On strike, yeah, absolutely. So I believe it's somewhere in the south of France.
On strike. Throw in the Finnish and Swedish summer vacation with some Israeli holidays. You work 3 months a year, is it?
That's what I'm thinking. So if you think about it, there's engineering, there's construction, and there's testing and all sorts of stuff for Philip happening in Australia, Taiwan, in the news, topical Taiwan. So that's Asia. It was Australia, Asia, now Europe, and America as well, of course. So he's spread pretty well across the globe now.
How many employees does CubePilot have?
I don't know. Honestly, don't know how many he has.
Like they're everywhere. Are they at the point where
all I know from he told me his new factory in Australia is for 6 million units a year. That's what he told me.
Yeah,
that's just
Australia. That's just the Cube. Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Is that Cube or is it the Node?
No, Cube and Node. No, and Node's going to be made there as well. Node's going to be made there.
Is anyone else T-Motor's probably producing millions of those motors. You've got
I should think that
T-Motor's been rebranded. T-Motor's no longer T-Motor.
But you know what I mean? Like, and then the question I guess I have is, what is the so outside of Cube, batteries and motors, nobody's doing millions, right? Like, no one can even people brag about 1,000 a month, but
no, I bet Maytech. No, I bet loads of people are.
Maytech.
Think of Cadix. I mean, hold up. You mean NDAA or not? That's the difference. Like Cadix.
Yeah.
Commercial. Let's say commercial, reliable.
Whatever.
The
homies from Cadix, right? It's like a 3-person company. Some dude named Andy was adding me on Facebook. That guy's a billionaire now, I learned. Okay. Like with a B, right? Guy who owns Maytech, that guy's a billionaire now. Okay. Right. The dudes who own Speedy Bee, iFlight, those dudes are making billions of dollars. Okay. And just like, yes, who's buying it all? Ukraine. Most of it. And like, the rest of us who, let's be frank, like if you're buying toys and whatnot, I don't see the reason, other than to support your friends and you have the premium to just buy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a privilege to be able to put your, vote with your dollar. This is something in this world where people are fucking leveraged socioeconomically. Like as mammals, humans in particular, every decision we make is based on socioeconomic behavior, right? All of it. So we think about like this shit's so expensive. Something I love about Philip, like the man has, first of all, enormous amounts of integrity, right? We don't agree on 100% of things, right? But something I respect about him, he will always give his time. He doesn't talk down to people, and his heart is in the right place. But most importantly, he can do whatever the fuck he wants, right? And we just have to deal with it. He can just be like, and he can just do it. I mean, the man hasn't gone straight Kanye, thank God. But he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. Then we just have to deal with it, right? Because
Freeman can control him.
Sure, but there's so much. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, when it comes to trade shows,
I believe they're speaking young people stuff.
No,
Bruce, I don't understand what they're talking about now. This young person.
With
I'm talking about old union control in America. There's only like 2
Freeman.
trade shows.
Oh yeah, it's that union.
Yeah,
they can control them.
Well, that's why they put that inflatable stand for AUVSI, wouldn't it? Because then he didn't have to build the stand. That's why he did that.
So, but again, like he is not run by he doesn't have like investor pressure. I don't think he has like private equity pressure. He's just doing it his way. And in my opinion, we're privileged to, in this moment of time, to have a company like this. I don't think this is going to be like tenable long term. I think you're going to have someone with a shit ton of resources to come in and shake this tree hard enough where you're going to see things like disrupt and fragment, right? Because it's going to be really, really hard to do. But I also never imagined my entire life that companies like Skyio would be raising $700+ million, or Andrew will be raising billions, or these guys where I live, I think raising $100 million seed round at $1 billion valuation. You'll hear more about them. You already know who they are. I don't want to be inappropriate and talk about them, but it's like, man, like that's a lot of money. That's like huge expectations. And if someone with that amount of capital focuses on execution on building one component, they'll be able to redefine any component category. That's flight controllers, that's radio links, that's cameras and payloads or whatever. You spend enough money in one specific segment, you're going to own it. Sorry, Josh, someone comes in with $1 billion, they're going to stomp you out, bro, when it comes to parachutes. Hopefully, and it'd be smarter for them just to buy you. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's it, yeah.
And if you have $1 million and want to buy our company, we will entertain that offer. Currency, we'll take a few. Let's throw in some crypto.
Yeah, it's so that the whole software, the DO stuff that's coming, and no doubt other standards will then be reinvented. I think one thing that is going to die this year is the green AUVSI green scheme. That's just nonsense. It's always been nonsense. I
don't think so.
That's a money grab.
So I think what you're seeing is like the blue. Not to sound religious, but basically green is the purgatory. It just chills in the stasis and it can move over with the blue. But basically blue being blue with like out ATO, you're going to see kind of this more of this like merging. But you have many companies who are like, I do not want to make a defense product. Wingtra, for example, bless them, right? They don't really need to make a defense product, but people need to be mapping. They're going to build that type of shit. So, something also worth mentioning about the blue list I've learned. There's a bunch of companies, you go look at it, they're not on the list right now. Go check on it right now, pull it up, Gary. It's not like the same. And as a result, you're seeing like there's a lot of confusion. And my understanding is it comes down with funding. And so it's like just like, certain people have to pay, I think $500,000 or how much, I shouldn't say that, hundreds of thousands of dollars, because I know it's at least that much.
It is. Yeah.
Figure out to get a platform vetted, and you'll notice some of the press releases from DIU and the blue list. There were platforms they initially said are like on it that are not on it because of some of this confusion. And again, the Pentagon's got bigger fish to fry right now than how we're going to build drones. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see this. Like as a vehicle OEM, you spend all this money and technical risk getting on the blue list. To be like delisted is like, I think, a huge like slap in the face. And also the warfighter needs like as many options as possible, you know. Anyway,
that's I'll just see what's in the comments here. There, need better UGV. Yeah, UGVs. That's going to be the peace dividend, I think, out of Ukraine. I think there's going to be all sorts of ground vehicles coming out of it for use in factories and farms and many other things. It's going to be. It really is going to be a key thing. If I had to say to somebody to get into the industry now, that's where I tell them to go. I say go there. Forget the drones. It's going to be a bum fight. Get on the ground stuff. That would be my. And the boats, of course.
The boats.
The boats.
Boats and ground vehicles that have things mounted to them, be it very in kind, that are light, nimble, all terrain. You're gonna win.
Forced to be. There we are. Yeah, but there won't be that if it really kicks off, there won't be enough time for everyone to receive their letter. It really won't. It really won't. Look, we're going off topic.
How are you going to fight a war when you're limited to 400 feet in line of sight? It's not going to work.
Exactly. Yeah, that won't work, will it? Exactly. And if it's over 250 grams, that's a whole load more paperwork.
You can't fly over people.
I can't. Yeah. I'd have to turn them down because you guys are right. I can't do BV lost light. I'm sorry, I'm tapping out here.
And I haven't got a fiber optic factory. Did you see they towed a glider? Sorry, I am going off topic. Yeah. Did you see one of those Fox back 22 things, the microlight, and they towed a sailplane behind it, and then dropped the sailplane as the kamikaze weapon, full-sized ones.
What you would do. I mean, if I was Ukraine, I would be buying up all the second-hand gliders across Europe, getting them in, putting a cube in it, putting because you get the servos to do it. You aero tow it to say 5,000 feet or something.
It's a glide bomb.
Oh, higher.
Yeah, that's what it was. No, it towed it. It towed it across Russia. It towed it across Russia. And took it to them. Yeah.
But you could release them over Ukraine, especially over the cornfields. Tell it just to thermal as high as it can, like 12,000 feet or something.
Exactly.
Go. And you'll get a couple of 100 kilos of nasty in it because pilot, you just go to the weight limit kind of thing. A couple of 100 kilos, you could literally just flood everything and just send it all towards Ukraine, towards Russia. That's what I would do. I would just buy them all in from Europe, all the second-hand ones, rig them out, aero tow, and send the lot. And you could do it on one day. You could imagine just going up, touch and goes, take another one up, come up, down. And if you did it in a big group of, I don't know, if you got 20 tow planes going, you could just keep going because you would send other drones to flood the air defense systems of Russia and then just send them in at the same time higher. You'd be laughing. You really would. You'd do some serious damage.
Well, you could load it up with FPV drones instead of using trucks.
Drop them. Yeah, you could drop truck. You could do that. Although that spider's web, I'm sorry, that was brilliant. Best drone in the box you've ever seen in the world. Amazing.
Doesn't
even need return to home.
Yeah, amazing stuff. And they towed it a long way and it went into one of the factories that makes those shade things in Russia. So, but the very fact that they could fly that across Russia and not get it shot down and detected, I mean, there's a whole raft of stories there. Really, there's a raft of stories around this.
I'll tell you what, the pilot in that plane at the front,
there's no pilot.
No,
there's no pilot. There's no pilot in the plane in the front. It's all autonomous.
That's absolutely genius, then.
But you've got to remember those Fox batch. It's easy to bring them down with a drone. That happened in New Zealand. Remember?
It happened in New Zealand. That's right. Exactly. That's very good. Yes, we got back round to him. Is he still with us? That chap, or is he?
I think he's dead. No, it was the guy that punched him was dead. I think he's still. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah.
But hey, nobody's mentioned the Air India thing. Have you noticed on the internet that Air India thing? so many airline pilots telling us all sorts of rubbish. I don't know, maybe they weren't airline pilots, but all these YouTube videos popping up saying, I used to be an airline pilot, and I think what happened was that they lifted the flaps instead of the landing gear, or they took off with the flaps up. And everyone was saying, oh, flaps. But if you look at the 787, they got really small flaps. They don't, not like the big, they don't come down like that. They're just a little flap. And so when they're down, you can hardly see them from outside. And, the clever airliners, they won't take off with the flaps up because they've got to pre-flight check things. And so it was pretty obvious right from the get-go, because I remember on the first day someone mentioned that the rat had come out. It was pretty obvious there. It was some kind of...
Total electrical. Yeah, electrical. Looks like total electrical. And then you wonder if it was actually the lithium battery because they had a problem. Was it the 7... Not that one. They had a problem with it, didn't they?
It was a 787 that they had the lithium battery at the very beginning.
Was it them that had the battery problem at the beginning? So let's hope. There we are. Oh, quite so
many experts. So everyone's an expert on the internet.
It's awful. How on earth did that one bloke survive? How on earth did that happen?
Just lucky.
I mean, that's
right place, right time.
Absolutely.
And he walked out.
Quick. Well, sometimes it's more efficient walking. We need to end on something jolly. We
Have you tried to get a taxi in India? Really?
True. Yes, lots and lots of dire things. Look, dear viewer, with an hour and 20. Any more before we go?
One little thing.
There we go.
The US Secretary Sean Duffy has announced that the USA, Australia, and Canada will all be working together to create an AAM roadmap. And I'm thinking, does he realise that New Zealand is still living in 2015 with our regulations?
It's going to be a bit.
Nobody's less equipped to do a roadmap than us.
Because he's always doing the full Five Eyes thing, isn't he? But it'll be very hard because everyone's going to want to push their solutions. America will be thinking, "Oh, you're taking ours." That's probably what they mean. So we'll see what pans out.
Yeah, crazy. It's been all too proved. What are the private chats that have come up here? Still here? Oh, still here. Still here. He's still here. He's still here. Oh, he's still here. Oh, I see. Oops. that was after the service. He was still there. He was still there. He's still there, Josh. We thought we'd exclude Canadian. On tonight is exclude Canada night.
Which part of Canada is he in? Because he's got a hoodie on. I thought it was summer in Canada.
That's his uniform, man. That's his uniform. You kidding me?
Yeah, that's my uniform too. Yeah.
Right. Dear viewer, wherever you are in the world, I hope you have a very splendiferous week. If this is the last show ever, well, cheerio. Hopefully things calmer heads prevail out in there. It's been quite went on a bit more, but it's been quite worrying watching all the US tankers dragging the fighter force across the ocean. It's been quite interesting. Look after yourselves. We'll see you all again at 2100 Gin and Tonic. Thanks very much for joining us, Bobby, and we'll see you all again next week. Cheers.